The film opens at a house party with a bunch of teens. In the living room, Kate tells a group of her friends sitting around a table about an app called Countdown to Skinny that helps you keep track of your calories. One of the girls, Allie, quickly looks it up and asks if she found the right app. Showing her phone, we see Allie's found the Countdown app and not the Countdown to Skinny app. The description also reads, if you could know exactly when you were going to die, would you want to know? This is so far from a calorie counting app that we can only assume Allie can't read. All the friends around the table decide to download the app except for Courtney until other friends get her to change her mind. As they download the app, they can now see how long they have left, with Courtney reluctantly revealing she has 3 hours left. Since Courtney is dying soon, that means she loses a bet they had decided before and must drink all the alcoholic drinks. Courtney's boyfriend, Evan, comes to her rescue and drinks the drinks for her. Cut to later, a few hours, and a very drunk Evan is about to drive Courtney home. Courtney declines and even gets insulted, so she decides to walk home alone. Evan speeds off as Courtney's phone goes off and we see the Countdown app has sent her a notification telling her she broke the user agreement. With 7 minutes left to live, Courtney rushes home, which is literally like 2 blocks from the party. As her countdown reaches 0, Courtney is attacked and killed by an unseen force. Meanwhile, we see Evan has crashed his car and is badly injured. A tree branch has broken the windshield and impaled the seat where Courtney would have been sitting. In the next scene, we see Quinn arriving at work as a nurse in a hospital and going about her tasks. We see that one of her patients is Evan, who will be going into surgery the following day. Quinn goes to check on him but discovers he's missing from his room. She quickly finds him in a closed-off wing of the hospital that is currently under construction. Evan tells her about what happened to his girlfriend Courtney and Quinn tries to console him. He then reveals he also downloaded the app and only has 19 hours to live. Quinn tells Evan that the app must be fake and brings him back to his room. A few moments later, Quinn's colleagues celebrate her passing her test, now becoming a licensed nurse and an official employee of the hospital. As they have cake, Quinn tells the rest of her colleagues, including Nurse Amy, Dr. Sullivan, and Father David, about the app, and they download it. The group is then interrupted by a man carrying a woman suffering from a drug overdose. The group quickly help by administering Narcan, a drug that counteracts the effects of an overdose. The woman almost immediately wakes up and survives. Later, as Quinn leaves the hospital, she downloads the app and discovers she has 2 days and 22 hours left to live. There's then a quick scene of her in the elevator where Dr. Sullivan gets a bit handsy to her disgust. That night, Quinn is at her apartment filling out some documents for her employment and discovers she needs her birth certificate but left it at her parents' house. Quinn drives to her parents' home and we learn that her mother passed away, which possibly caused some divide in the family. After finding her birth certificate, Quinn hears sounds coming from a closet and discovers her teen sister Jordan hiding in the closet with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend quickly leaves, and Jordan lashes out at Quinn for not being around the last 6 months. Quinn tries to apologize, but Jordan heads into her room. The noise wakes up their father, Charlie, who invites Quinn to lay flowers on her mother's grave over the weekend. The following day, Evan is about to go into surgery, but after seeing he only has 3 minutes left to live, he leaves his room. He gets a notification from the Countdown app telling him the user agreement has been broken and spots someone behind him in a black sheet standing at the end of the hallway. The person disappears and then reappears in a jump scare, causing Evan to limp to the staircase. The power goes out in the staircase and his phone alerts him he has 1 minute left to live. Evan hears someone running up the stairs but is unable to see who it is. He then sees Courtney standing a few steps above him with her back turned to him. Evan calls out to her, and she turns to him but reveals her demonic face. Demon Courtney runs towards him and the scene cuts to the bottom of the stairs as Evan's phone falls from the top along with Evan's body. Quinn arrives at the hospital and is told of Evan's death. She decides to steal his phone and goes to the morgue where no security or anyone is working. She then uses his fingerprint and faces to unlock the phone. Quinn confirms Evan's Countdown app was at 0, and we later see her stressed that her app says she has less than 2 days left. Quinn looks at her calendar and sees she's supposed to be heading to the cemetery with her sister and dad that day. Since dying at a cemetery with the rest of your family while visiting another dead family member is a huge downer, Quinn calls her father and cancels. After the call, the Countdown app sends Quinn a notification telling her she broke the user agreement. Quinn ignores it and goes to help a patient with Dr. Sullivan. In the room, Dr. Sullivan notices how stressed Quinn is and thinks it's because it's her first day as an official nurse. To console her, he hugs her and smells her hair, which is always a weird thing to do. Quinn walks to the other side of the room and the married Dr. Sullivan attempts to kiss her by pinning her to the wall. This causes Quinn to freak out and rush out of the room. She immediately sees Nurse Amy and attempts to tell her in private, but Dr. Sullivan demands Nurse Amy come to see him first. That night, Quinn researches the Countdown app and finds an article about Courtney's death. She then finds a video of another person who downloaded the app. The girl says ever since she got the app, she's been seeing weird things. The next morning, Jordan wakes Quinn up questioning what she's doing and the two head into the apartment. Jordan spots Quinn's phone, which has great battery life since it's still alive and displaying a notification from the Countdown app. We learn that Charlie left on a work trip and left a neighbor to watch Jordan, but she wants to stay with Quinn. Following that day, Quinn buys a completely new phone and refuses to have anything transferred over from the first one. Upon activation, she checks and is relieved the Countdown app doesn't show up on the new phone. Before she leaves, the new phone alerts her that the app has been downloaded. Quinn freaks out and Derek attempts to delete the app, but the button won't work, causing Quinn to storm off. As she leaves one of the other customers in line, Matt asks Derek what app she was referring to. Through her car's rearview camera, Quinn starts seeing visions of the Grim Reaper-type ghoul, and in a jump scare, some demonic-looking hands grab her face. Quinn slams on the gas and reverses into another car whose owner flips out. Matt comes out of the phone store and threatens the car owner, forcing him to leave. Turns out Matt has also downloaded the app and shows Quinn he only has 18 hours to live. Cut to Quinn and Matt at a bar. Like, they didn't just show us they both have less than a day to live. The two decide to trick a drunk bar patron into downloading the app so they can read the user agreement. Turns out the user agreement informs the user that they must accept their death time, and attempting to change their fate is breaking the agreement. Sounds legally binding to me. The two head to the hospital and talk to Father David as they believe a demon is behind the app. Father David recommends them someone else and the two head off, but before they leave the hospital, Nurse Amy asks to speak with Quinn. Matt heads to the bathroom where he gets a visit from a ghost child who attacks him. Meanwhile, Amy takes Quinn to an office where Human Resources and Dr. Sullivan are waiting. Human Resources decides to suspend Quinn pending an investigation, even though she tells them that Dr. Sullivan is the one who attempted to kiss her. Quinn angrily leaves and regroups with Matt, who doesn't tell her about the ghost child. The two head to meet with Father David's recommendation, Father John. Father John tells them a story of a prince in ancient times who was told his exact time of death by a fortune teller. The time coincided with a battle that was to take place, so the prince sent his brother instead, thereby changing his fate. The prince began seeing visions of death, but when he returned to the fortune teller, she told him it was the demon Ajahn coming to correct his fate. Father John tells them he believes Ajahn is behind the app but can't verify it unless they can hack the app and look at the code. Quinn and Matt visit Derek and pay him to delay his Tinder date so he can hack the app. Derek finds the code is full of Latin and discovers the list of users along with how much each person has left. Quinn sees her sister has downloaded the app and her timer matches Quinn's. Derek changes the amount of time Quinn, Jordan, and Matt have left, and we see each of their apps update with the new amounts. With their new countdowns, Quinn and Matt breathe a sigh of relief, and Quinn asks Matt to stay at her place as she doesn't want to be alone. Matt agrees, and a short time later, as he lies down on her floor, he reveals to Quinn that his younger brother died when he was a child. Though he doesn't say it, we can assume the ghost child he saw in the bathroom was his younger brother's ghost. We also learn that Quinn's mom was killed by a drunk driver years ago. That night, as Quinn is asleep, the power goes out and Matt enters the room in time to see her attacked by something demonic. Pulling off the covers, the demon is gone, but the two see their countdowns have reverted to the original times, giving Matt 2 hours and Quinn, Jordan 4.5 hours to live. Meanwhile, we see that Jordan is being stalked by the ghost of her mother at home. As Jordan hides under the bed, her mom's ghost appears in a jump scare, demanding to know where Quinn is. Jordan runs out of the house just as Quinn and Matt arrive, and the three head to Father John's church. After reading the code, Father John decides the best way to beat the demon is to cause the countdown to be wrong. He devises a plan to create a protection circle and keep everyone inside of it for just 1 second past the next countdown. This should break the curse not just for one person but for everyone affected by it. Working together, the group mix salt and paint a protection circle in the basement of the church. With just 2 minutes left on Matt's countdown, power goes out and the group gets into the circle. Things start to shake, and loud rumbling is heard as the demon shows up, but it's unable to cross the salt line. A loud ringing is heard, and Matt turns around to see his dead brother standing outside of the circle. Despite fully knowing that a demon is trying to kill him, and that the demon has used his brother's ghost in an attack earlier, Matt steps outside the circle to talk to his brother, who is Ajahn in disguise. Matt is immediately dragged out of the basement. Quinn and Jordan chase after him but are knocked down by shelves. While Jordan is pinned, Quinn escapes and runs outside to where Matt has been taken. She finds him in the middle of the street with Ajahn nowhere in sight. Instead of getting out of the street or looking around, Matt tells Quinn the salt circle worked as he believes Ajahn has let him go. He then gets run over by a car and dies. As Matt's clock ticks to 0, Father John helps Jordan out of the basement and Quinn realizes Jordan is bleeding. The two rush to the hospital and are treated by Dr. Sullivan. With only 18 minutes left, Quinn devises a plan and speaks with Dr. Sullivan privately, where she offers him sexual favors in the closed-off wing. A few minutes later, Dr. Sullivan enters the wing of the hospital and searches for Quinn. Quinn attacks Sullivan with a crowbar, knocking him down. It becomes apparent she plans to kill Sullivan to change fate, as earlier Sullivan downloaded the app and had decades left to live. Quinn is about to inject Sullivan with morphine but is first interrupted by Jordan and then by Ajahn, who pulls Sullivan away. While Jordan, who has 2 minutes left, is stalked by Ajin. Quinn chases after Sullivan, and the two fight. Sullivan escapes with the help of Ajin, leaving Quinn with an injured ankle. She then spots a cabinet filled with vials of medicine. Quinn grabs some vials and a whiteboard marker, and we cut back to Jordan, who still had a minute and a half left. Ajin attacks Jordan, but Quinn arrives, and we see she has a needle filled with whatever was in the vials she found. Ajin tries to stop her from injecting herself by disguising herself as Quinn's mom, but unlike Matt, that trick won't work on her. Quinn injects herself and collapses. Ajin lifts her into the air to save her. As Quinn floats in the air, she loses consciousness and dies to Ajin's surprise. Since this breaks the curse, Ajin freaks out and turns to dust. Quinn falls to the ground, and Jordan rushes over, where she sees a vial of Narcan has fallen from her hand. She then spots that Quinn has written where to inject her with Narcan, and Jordan injects her. The medicine quickly counteracts and brings her back to life. We cut to a short time later with Quinn, Jordan, and their dad at their mom's grave. We learn that Dr. Sullivan has been arrested, and Quinn gets a notification on her phone. The film ends as Quinn checks her phone and sees that the Countdown app version 2 has been downloaded. That's what you get for allowing push notifications.